Hi and welcome to Life, the Universe and Music. I'm Craig Westwood. This week is a little bit different. I'm delighted to introduce someone that has been an instrumental part, quite literally, in the creation of my music. She was mentioned in the last episode and it's my pleasure to have been able to have a chat with the lovely Emily Dolan Davies. Emily has a session drumming business, but she's also a touring musician. She's played with people like The Darkness, Brian Ferry, Tricky, Howard Jones, and lately she's been touring with Kim Wilde. Not only that, but Emily also coaches other people who want to get into the remote recording side of business. And if she's not busy enough, she also runs a thing called STEM Club. This is a growing library of session drum recordings that she's made that allows musicians to use for their music. I'll put some link in below to Emily's website. She's such a bubbly character too, and it's just to say it was a boiling hot day in August, and apparently it was the hottest day in 2023 so far in my part of France. Anyway, despite the heat, we had a lovely first get to know each other chat. Enjoy the next hour or so with Emily Dolan Davies.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you? Yay! We're here.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
You exist. You are.
I exist. I'm real, and so are you.
Yes. My favourite loony on all the planet.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. My favourite drummer on all the planet. So there we go.
Well, there you go.
Oh,
how are you?
It's fabulous to meet you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for agreeing to have a chat with me. That's great. That's fantastic.
Of course. It's such a nice excuse, to be honest, because, we've been chatting for so long. I was looking back and 2018 is when we first started working together, and we've obviously sort of kept in touch over that time. So it's so nice to actually be able to have a proper conversation that isn't just over email and stuff.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Well, I was looking back at my emails. It was actually November 2016 when I first contacted you.
Oh my gosh, was it? Oh my gosh.
That's because let's cast your mind back.
Yeah.
I first saw it was a Steinberg promotion.
Oh, was it? Is that what you saw first?
And I was at the time I was doing like an artist development course, believe it or not, and we were using because I was creating tracks with this artist development team, and we were using a drummer in Nashville, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, I need an English equivalent of this, really. And this is cosmic, really, because up pops this email from Steinberg saying, watch our latest, I think it's up and coming. I can't remember the gist of the email anymore.
Yeah, I can't even remember.
but you were on it, and I thought, that's the person I should contact.
That's so cool.
So I sent out this little email saying, at some point I will be needing, because you were just starting up your.
That's right. Yeah, I would have been. Yeah, that would have been very early doors. I
was going to say, wasn't it called Ed's Place to begin with?
It was. You are possibly my longest standing client, now that I'm sort of thinking about it. But yeah, that was the initial.
So yeah, I think you were really, really just starting up, weren't you?
I really, really was. So the studio officially opened in July of 2016. So literally a few months later. So that makes sense, because the Steinberg thing was one of the first things that I did in the studio. And it was a friend of mine who was involved with Steinberg and came up to my studio to film it. And I remember being like, okay, so this is definitely a thing now, because people are actually here and this is really happening. So you would have been one of the first people to
probably to get in touch. I know after that there was a lull period for quite a few months, because like I said, I was still doing artist development at the time, and then when I came out of that, I was you know, I came out of that a bit battered and bruised, really. So,
Yeah, bless you.
Emotionally,
Yeah.
but
It's a rough place to be in artist development.
it was, and you know, there are pros and cons to that, and this is why I started the whole YouTube channel, really.
Yeah.
So this Life, the Universe, and Music thing that I've started, and it was really to show the story, really, to you know, because or perhaps it should be re-entitled something like "How Not to Get a Career in Music," because
Not
you know,
brilliant.
you find there's just every hurdle. I found
Yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. And again, I have a
Yeah,
similar thing as to the reason that I started my podcast was similar sort of thing. It's like,
yeah.
just need to share this stuff because
Yeah.
nobody really talks about how blooming difficult it can be. And,
Mm.
you know, there are a lot of knocks and hurdles, as you say. And
Mm.
sometimes they knock you on your ass for a long time and then you get back up and you just keep going, or you go in a different direction. And, you know, you find yourself
Right.
where you are right now. And it sounds like you're just in the best shape, like living in France, doing your ballooning,
Yeah.
music.
Well, I must say, this talk almost didn't happen because we had a power cut about 12 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
And I have to say, yeah, we just had this, like, it's about 35 degrees at the moment, so you may see me melt.
Yeah, I thought it was
during
warm
this,
here, but
during this
that's
talk. You can see I'm looking a bit red in the face, I'm afraid. But,
you're glowing. You're glowing.
and I've had to turn the fan off as well because it'll, you know, mess the microphone up.
Yeah,
So
bless you.
I am, yeah, I'm going to be melting in a bit. If you hear, I'm melting.
I know what's happening. I'm
it,
melting too
yeah,
over here, but it's only 25, 26 degrees right now. So
yeah. I think,
it's relatively okay comparatively. And I have doors. I have big French windows,
yes, you've got,
ironically.
yeah.
So
We just
they're flung open right
we
now.
just call them windows here.
Yeah, of course you do.
So, but it is. I mean, obviously, we came here for, well, the quiet, because it is absolutely. I've got the windows open. Can you believe this? You might hear the odd, you know, dog barking or something, you know, but you don't hear a great deal here. It's really is quite rural France. It's central France where we are, and but it's so quiet and fabulous, ideal for recording. So
Yeah, sounds like it couldn't be better.
So yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And yeah, except when the neighbours, you know, get the chainsaw out and they want to.
I had that here too.
They want to cut a branch down.
Yeah, sorry, go on. When you cut a branch down.
Yeah, or when they cut a branch down, yeah, it's
yeah.
I get the chainsaw noise, but that's about it. That's the only thing. I have to sort of you know, go make a drink and wait and then record after they've finished, you know.
I do, yeah. I moved out to more the countryside sort of area.
I was going to say, because you were in London originally, weren't you?
I was, yeah. So I grew up in North London, and then I moved out. I've moved about a little bit, but I was out in Harlow. That's where my last studio was. So east and in Essex, and then moved just north of London, Hertfordshire, basically. Yeah, and same thing. Yeah, it's beautiful, and it is very quiet. I mean, it's not as quiet as where you are, I don't think. We have a bit of like road noise and that, but similar thing. The only noises that happen are when someone's cutting down a tree, or actually there's a whole house being built next door, so there is a little bit of that going on at the moment, but on the whole it's so quiet and it's so lovely just I don't know, have that I know it's ironic, you know, we have like careers and vocations and in music, which is obviously loud, and
that's the passion, isn't it? Yeah, that's right.
I love the quiet. It's just so beautiful. So yeah, I feel very, very lucky to be here, definitely. So I understand that thing of the quiet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I think it does a lot for you. It does a lot for your sanity as well, doesn't it?
100%. Yes, definitely. I definitely feel more sane. I won't say I feel sane, but more sane than I ever have done.
more sane. Well, I'm just a loony, so.
I know you are. I love it. I love it. I think
That's
that's
the
still
insane. That's the insane part about it. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's still my favorite thing that I've ever learned about any of my clients is the fact that
All
people
right.
that fly in balloons are called loonies. It's my favorite
Well,
fact. I often tell people, I'm like, so I have this client and he's a loony, and I explain, and it's like my favorite fact.
well, I must say it's more my term for it, but we do call it looning, some of us. And yeah, so yeah, I'm just off looning or something like that. It's
I love it. I love it
it,
so
it
much.
is it is a sort of a ballooning phrase, but not used by all balloonists, but a few of us, we like
Only the fun ones.
only the real loonies, really.
The real loonies, exactly. I still will take you up on that offer at some point of coming up in a balloon with you when I find myself in your area, which I'm sure I will at some point in life.
Yeah.
I still
Well,
would love to do that.
yes, you're very, very welcome. Yes, I think yes, it will it will eventually happen, I think. Although we do make promises of flights to people, and it can be a few years before they get round to it.
Of course, at some
But it's
point.
just busy people, you see. This is it.
Yeah, this is it. We're all busy and yeah, all over.
we have to sort of bide our time. I mean, not to make too much of a story of this, but we do have an issue in Europe at the moment where we've had to change our licensing, or we're going to have to change our licensing. So I have to retest in order to fly in Europe, and this is a Brexit thing. Yeah.
Oh, it's just the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it?
It's a domino effect. Yes. So yeah, I mean, yes, we did we did say it's the gift, isn't it? But yes, so yeah, at the moment I can still fly in England, no problem, because I have an English pilot license, but I have to transition it while I'm in Europe. So at the moment, to fly in Europe, I have to fly supervised.
That must be just so frustrating, like, because you've been doing this a long time, haven't you? How long have you been doing this, actually?
Well, I've been ballooning since 2001.
Wow.
Although I've been a pilot since 2011, so it took me about 10 years just to get round to being training and being a pilot, because there's not a lot of good flyable weather in the UK.
Yes, I do often think that about you.
Yeah, ideally, you need quite calm winds. Sunshine would be preferable, but and when I say calm winds, it has to be very, very calm winds.
Right.
So and we only ever fly first thing in the morning and towards the evening.
Interesting.
So, and that's because when the sun heats the ground up, it becomes too turbulent then for a balloon to fly during the day.
Oh, wow.
So you will only ever see a hot air balloon anyway in the morning or towards the evening.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there you go. Another fun thing that I've learned from you.
So
I just love it.
Yeah. It has to be, really. I mean, the best flights to me anyway are in the morning.
Right. Yeah. But I think that's what I would go for as well. Just generally, I like morning things.
It means getting up early, but that's okay.
Worth it. It's fine. It'd be worth it.
But it is worth it, definitely.
Yeah.
And we tend to get our longer flights in the mornings, and that's just because you're not having to worry about landing the balloon before it gets dark.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine that's a bit of a thing.
So yeah, I mean, it's not it's not too critical, but obviously you can see obstacles when you're when you're in daylight.
Yeah. I'd much prefer that, definitely. As lovely as the sunset is and all that sort of stuff.
Definitely less worrying. Yeah, there's a little bit more to worry about, I think, when you're flying in the evening. But,
yeah. But well, we'll go in the morning then. We'll go in the morning.
Don't let me put you off. Either way.
No. Don't worry. You've done nothing but
it's just the evening flights just tend to be a bit shorter because we'll land when it's really when you've got a good deal of time to pack away, and when you find an ideal field to land, you'll land.
Yeah, of course.
You don't know where you're going to end up.
Do you not? Is that a thing? You don't know when you'll land. You're
No,
just
you don't know where you're going to land.
that. Is that not stressful? That feels like it's
That's the exciting bit.
so sorry, because I'm such a
you take off and you just don't know where you're going to end up. You just don't know where you're going to be.
but then what happens when you actually land? Then
Yeah.
what happens? You pack up. Do you have like a van that comes and
Yes, yeah. We have
Right.
we have a car with a trailer. We have a dedicated trailer for the balloon, and it's special trailer for it.
so you send out a beacon and be like,
Yeah.
I'm here, and then they come and meet you.
Yeah. Well, these
down.
days Google Pin is very useful. So
That's
you
true.
just say, right, Google Pin. We send that. I'm here. Come and find me.
Amazing. Do you
Yeah.
ever use what 3 words as well, or do you not
Yeah, what
feel the
3 words
need?
we've got as well. If
So
our
useful.
retrieve people use what 3 words, then we can do that as well, because that's very good, because that's accurate within about a couple of meters, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's such a clever concept that, like, so brilliant, so brilliant. Amazing.
So yeah, but yes, the offer's still there. You can come and fly with us, no problem.
I absolutely will.
As long as I have a license to fly at that point. But
that's semantics. That's fine.
Semantics.
We'll get through that.
But yes, I think I mean we're planning to because my wife is also a pilot, Claire. She's in fact she was a pilot before I was. So yeah, she was the first Looney, and so yeah, we she got her license in 2007. So yeah, she got me into ballooning, I have to say, kicking and streaming to begin with, but I actually because I had a bit of a fear of heights before that, but
that's not ideal. But you click. Oh no, actually,
I've kicked that.
You've just reminded me of something. So my dad is a pilot of like very small planes, has been.
Oh right, yes, fixed wing.
And
yeah.
So you know what you're talking about. I have no idea.
Yeah, my younger brother.
He does that as well.
Pilot, and he flies for he flies commercially as well. So.
Oh, does he? Oh, see, my dad doesn't do that. He just small private planes. But the reason that he learnt to fly was the same sort of, well, not the same sort of thing. He decided to fly because he was scared of heights and he was scared of flying. So he thought, well, if I learn how to fly, then I'll understand and I won't be scared. And lo and behold, obviously it worked. And so it's interesting that can be a massive motivator for some people.
Yeah, I think it is. I think the best way to kick your fear really is to go and do it. So yes, it is. It certainly worked for me. So I never imagined in a million years that I'd be a pilot. I went along really in 2001. We actually came out to France. My first flight in a balloon was in France.
Oh, was it?
And partly the reason why we kind of fell in love with France, because we started coming a lot and mainly ballooning. So yeah, we did that. But so that's kind of the history of it. Yes, yeah.
I love it. Like I say, you're the only Looney that I know, so it's such a fascinating subject to me because I know nothing, like literally nothing. And every time we talk about it, I'm like, it just sounds so brilliant. And I love that you're in France now because of partly because of where you sort of started with your ballooning, and that's awesome. I love that. I love full circle things. I've got a real thing about full circle moments, and that's a big one. I like it.
I think these events do intertwine, don't they? It's something I have. I've certainly thought that. I hadn't actually made that connection with ballooning so much, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Love it. Love a bit of retrospective sort of analyzing. I spent my life doing that, just going, that's interesting. I did that, and then this happened. And even just talking about my dad and his fear of flying, and that's why I did it. I've realized I'm very much like that as well. If I find something that scares me, I'm like, I should probably do it then, because it means it's a challenge and I would rather not be afraid of it. So I'm like, all right, how am I going to do this then? So I've obviously picked that trait up as well. So I guess I'm in that club.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I
So
think so.
tell me about the new studio, because I know you sent me a little video not long ago, because that was kind of really me getting back in touch with you and talking about our talk really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I mean, you've been there now over a year, haven't you?
Yeah, so it's a year and a half now. It'd be 2 years in November, basically.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, I honestly, time has just flown by the last couple of years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically just moved house. Basically, it was from the pandemic, and as a lot of us did, just
Yeah, well,
reassessed,
yeah,
like,
too. Mm.
where do we want to be? You know, what's the aim here, what's the goal, and ended up in this lovely house and built this studio literally from scratch. And Craig, it's my haven. It's just so beautiful. So it sort of was built completely purpose built, with all the sort of like soundproofing and all of the treatment and stuff like that. And it's one of those things where it took months, like a couple of months to build, and every day we were doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen if we build it and then I set up the drums and it sounds awful, or like, you know, there's like weird reverberations, or like coning, or there's so many millions of things that could go wrong. And I was like just in this constant state of anxiety. And then literally the day that it was done, set up my drums and sort of like played, and luckily it just sounded brilliant. And I was like,
Yeah.
and exhale. So now
That's a
I'm just,
relief, isn't it?
oh, the
Yeah.
biggest relief.
I've had some issues here actually. So you know, it's
Have you?
same thing. I mean, before in a house in England, it was not the ideal conditions to begin with, but it was basically an integral garage of the house,
Right.
which I just sort of kitted out and converted as such. But always, you know, you couldn't. It was a not a detached house, let's say. So
Gotcha.
you've got
Complicated.
neighbours.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so you've always got limits to, you know, when you can make sound and how loud you can make that sound and for how long. And so it was not ideal. And so now, you know, so one of the prerequisites of buying a house here was it had to have quite a bit of space.
Amazing.
And the loony bit, which is it has to have a garden big enough to launch a balloon from. So
Of course, I didn't even think about you launching balloons from your garden. I'm so fixated on the studio, I didn't even think about that.
And Claire, my wife, loves gardening. So she's she's got a garden to play with, which is a big playpen really.
Yeah.
And
did you build your studio, or was it an outbuilding? Or
well, it's I'm actually in the upper floor. So
oh, cool.
this
Oh, that's really cool.
so it's about we've got guest rooms up here, but there's like a sort of a mezzanine area at the top, so that's where I am. So it's sort of big enough to, you know, play, and so I've got a little videoing area at the other end here, and this is the area I'm sort of sat at my desk here where I mix, and I've got this wobbly screen behind me which is on wheels, which kind of you know, lets the light in when I want it to.
Love that.
At the moment we've got all the shutters closed because it is really that hot.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's the other thing. This becomes a bit of a sweatbox if I don't open up the doors occasionally, because it's like it's very well insulated, as it should be. But can we talk about having natural light in a studio and what a difference that makes? Because I'm sure you're the same. I've spent my life in windowless rooms practicing and doing rehearsals and stuff, and now I'm like, oh look, there's a world out there that I can actually look at whilst I'm making music. It's so inspiring. I don't know if you find the same.
Yes, oh, absolutely. I mean, I have 3 windows in here. One which I keep closed actually because it's the south side of the house.
Gotcha.
And it gets that sun all day and absolutely roasting.
Yeah.
Can be. But I do have the option of, I keep the shutters closed, definitely, but you can still open the window to get, air.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And this is the thing, when I think the Europeans tend to have it right in that, all the houses have shutters on, and the reason for the shutters is to keep the house cool.
Yeah.
So that when it gets really, really hot, but it's just something that's so alien to us in England because as soon as the sun comes out, we want to open all the windows and we want to go outside and we want to enjoy it.
Because it's only going to happen for 3 days this year, so I'm going to make the most of it. But actually, now it's sort of.
But actually, the Europeans, they have to shut it out when it gets too hot. We can have it where we've had it up to 45 here. Which is roasting.
Yeah, that is. I'm not sure I could actually handle that. I think I would just like crawl up in a ball, and just.
So we would melt. Actually, we're just not used to it yet. But
yeah, how long have you been there now for?
Well, I came out here in December 2020. So
oh wow!
During the pandemic, yes.
Yes, it's funny, isn't it, how so many people made some pretty drastic moves during that time, and yes, it's been such an interesting time, should we say, a very interesting time of big change. But it sounds like that move was the absolute right one for you, and I think
so. I mean, there are always pros and cons to everything you do. And I think, we made ourselves a few more hurdles, really. One of which was to, learn the language pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. How's that going?
Trivia.
Good. I mean, I have literally, all I can say is je voudrais un sandwich du jambon, but nothing else. So, yeah.
Oh, so ham sandwich. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. At least I won't starve. That's all I know.
That's it. Yeah.
And is there anything that you miss about the UK out of interest?
Just family, really, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Family. We do, because I've got a son and daughter who are in their late 20s, early 30s.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we don't get to see them quite as often as we did. But that's all. And we still keep saying, come out to France, you'll love it.
Yeah, nice excuse, surely.
Yeah. But I still think, the world has changed a little bit since the pandemic, hasn't it? Really, I think people. We're only just getting back to normal, I think, really.
I would agree. And even then, there's still an edge of like, there's moments where you're like, oh, hold on a sec. But it's like there's a pause that happens occasionally, with me at least, where I'm like, oh, hold on, like a year and a half ago, this was a very different world. Like I'm still sort of adjusting back. And like I said, I think a lot of people have just reassessed what their lives look like, and for me personally, the thing that was most evident was how blooming exhausted I was all the time from like between touring and being in the studio. I was perpetually just exhausted I've been perpetually exhausted since probably about 2005 probably, and just suddenly to stop, I was like, oh my goodness. And then to go back out on the road with Kim Wilde, I was like, oh, this is taking a lot out of me, like mentally, physically. Like I just never realized, because you're just so busy just doing it, and you think that's normal.
That's right.
And
it becomes routine, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does, absolutely. And it's a really interesting thing to be able to step away and then come back and just go, this is making a lot of other stuff make sense, like previously in my life. Like, yeah, no wonder I was finding things difficult, whatever. I had nothing left. I was just like out of it all of the time. Yeah. So really interesting. Whereas now I feel like I mean, I'm not great at work-life balance or anything like that, which I'm sure that you see when you see me. I'm always doing something. I can't help it. But I think I do have more of an appreciation and more of an awareness of my sort of work balance and overworking and just looking at my day-to-day life. What do I want my life to actually look like? I don't need to be working 24/7 for other people. I can, you know, go in and cook for a bit for my dinner and take that time for myself. And, you know, so it's been very valuable for me in that sort of respect, definitely.
Yeah, I noticed on your channel you do talk about food. So you are a foodie.
I love food. The food out there must be spectacular.
Yeah. It is fresh food. I'd say is to go fresh food. It is it's a bit more expensive, I think, than in the UK. But having said that, I think you pick and choose what you have, and it's certainly made it certainly made eating more interesting, I think.
That's so cool.
So yeah, it's yeah. So we do have a bit of, you know, we're getting a bit of a French palate now, I think. You know, we're not into the I'm not quite into the snails and stuff, but you know,
no, I've never managed
to l'escargot. No.
No, yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm on that same.
But you know, certainly I'm liking the fact that you know, we've got a local supermarket which is only about 5k down the road, and their veg is wonderful, and so we go for that a lot. You know, I'm not a vegetarian, by the way. I'm just but we do eat a lot of good vegetables, and
I'm the same. Yeah, I eat everything, but in fact, since the pandemic, I've really gotten into vegetables and just like cooking different things. And there's a particular chef, Yotam Ottolenghi. I don't know if you've heard of him. He does a lot of like Middle Eastern stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's mainly vegetable based. And honestly, he's just completely opened up my world to celebrating vegetables. So I'll send you some links actually to some books.
Oh, do
might be interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's something we haven't touched upon really. So
no. No, it's
I must admit that the one thing the French do like is that a lot of the food is grown in France here, so it's a lot of it is local produce, or it's, you know, it's of or it's come from France. You know, it's not done an awful lot of food miles, if you see what I mean.
Right, yeah, that's great.
You know, they do import stuff, but they are very big on, you know, putting the French flag on their food. You know.
Yeah, that's nice though, because I mean, it makes a difference. My parents spend a lot of time in Spain, and it's the same over there.
Yeah.
And all as you say, it's just the fresh food over there is just next level. It just tastes like it should taste. And you sort of come back to the UK and you do notice the difference. Like it's a lot of stuff. It's like, this is meant to be a butternut squash. Doesn't really taste like anything. I bet put lots of herbs and spices on it to make it taste like something. Whereas over there, everything just, it's just beautiful. I love it whenever I get to go over there. So I can definitely appreciate the less miles traveled, the locally grown. It makes for me it makes a big difference, I think.
Oh yeah. And I think you know, we put in a lot more time into food prep, really, you know, whereas I think you know, back in the UK we were it was more convenient stuff, and it really wasn't a healthy lifestyle. You know, I actually do think that we've you know, we now spend a lot more time preparing and cooking food, and it's great, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I've had a very similar experience, and again, mine was pandemic based, and it was just like, I'm an extreme person, so as soon as all that kicked off, I sort of said to my husband, I was like, right, we're going to eat all the freshest food, the healthiest stuff, because we're going to be like, you know, we've got to be as healthy as possible. And it just got us into this routine of only buying, you know, very fresh stuff, pulses, legumes, all the stuff, a little bit of meat, a little bit of fish, but it was mainly about how, like, let's just get as many nutrients into our bodies as possible. And that's definitely kind of hung over for me. And now, similar to you, I spend so much time like prepping stuff and cooking. I love cooking anyway, but there's something, I'm very much like, I want to see the raw ingredient and make something, rather than convenience food of like, there's a few real things in here, but there's a lot of chemically looking things that I don't know what this is. And obviously whenever I travel over to the States, or I was in Canada recently, and you look at the labels over there and it's scary, like just there's so little real stuff in it. It's all just so processed, and it's
Really?
it's terrifying to me. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, that is because it makes the decisions of what to buy difficult, doesn't it? You know,
Very.
I mean, I spend more time looking at labels now, particularly because the labels are in French. But
Fair
but
enough.
but you know, you're looking for things like, you know, try and find something without sugar in it. You know,
Oh,
no.
impossible, like literally impossible. But
And
then it's just like, I'll just make it myself then.
yeah, well, this is it, and this is why we sort of dump the, you know, even packaged vegetables in favour of buying fresh, because you know, you don't know what they're putting in it to preserve it in the packet.
That's it, exactly. It's yeah, it's a whole new world, isn't it? It's a whole new world. I'm into it. I'm so into it. I love it. Yeah, it's making eating even more enjoyable, and I love eating anyway. So yeah, it's just nice that I can keep loving it even more.
Have you stopped touring now for a while? Is this
So yeah, last year I was on the road mostly with Kim.
because you were with Kim, weren't you?
Yeah, sort of back out
And
doing that.
this has been going on for a while, hasn't it? You've had a few tours with Kim, haven't you?
Yeah, so I was playing with her. I started playing with her in 2018 for her Here Come the Aliens tour, which was an album that she did. And then obviously the pandemic happened, so we did 2 years of touring essentially, and that was all around Europe. And then pandemic happened, and then we went back out on the road for most of last year, touring her greatest hits album basically. And when did that finish up? It must have been, it was December. Yeah, we were in Sweden. We were doing a Swedish tour, which is great. So for Christmas, they fill all of their venues with sweets, which is wonderful and terrible at the same time, but I loved every second of it. But anyway, so yeah, that finished up in December, and then I did The Voice Kids, which is a TV show over here, which I know you've seen a bit. Yeah, so that finished up in April, and then I've just been in the studio. So the rest of this year is just in the studio, and then next year, who knows? I'm kind of like I'm trying to just open myself up to ideas, but to be honest, I'm so happy being in the studio and just recording for people. And I do coaching now with people to help them with their careers as well. So I'm just kind of really embracing that and embracing being back home, and just, you know, this space is just magical. It's everything and more that the sort of 11, 12, 13-year-old me wanted. I didn't even know I wanted this, but this is even better than what I could envisage. And I'm just like, why would I not spend as much time in this space as I can? So I'm kind of focusing on this right now, and it's exciting to me. I love running my own business. I love connecting with people like your good self. You know, I love meeting people, hearing their stories, playing on their music, and just being able to add to that and sort of like learn about everything that's going on. It's just, I just love it. It really suits my personality at the moment to kind of just be in the studio basically. So yeah, I'm loving it.
What gave you the idea for that?
That's a great question, Craig. So I'll tell you what happened. What happened was I was playing with this band called The Darkness. I remember. I know. Yeah. So that was we started working together in 2014. Basically worked with them for a year. And we recorded an album called Last of Our Kind. We did a bit of touring around Ireland, weirdly, which I've never done a tour of just Ireland. It was brilliant. I just didn't know you could do that many dates, but there we go. And anyway, after that, we sort of like realized that probably it was not a good fit between us. You know, I'm as I've said, I'm someone that loves playing with loads of different people all the time. And they were like, no, you'd have to be just in the band. And I'm like, I've spent 20 years building up a career and a network of people that I love the fact that they can just call me and I'll come do that. So anyway, we decided to part ways, and that was in May of 2015. And I sort of sat down with myself and I was like, right, I know from experience that no one's going to call me for the rest of this year because they're going to assume that I'm still out with The Darkness. They're not even going to bother. So I'm going to have to use these next sort of 7 months to make a plan, basically, and just decide where I want to be, what I want to be doing. And I just used it as a kind of conscious way of thinking about what I loved the most about drumming, things that I didn't like that much, and try and maximize the things that I loved and minimize the things that I didn't love, basically.
Yeah.
Things that I don't like are things like being in rehearsals for weeks on end for a tour. I can't stand that. I love, like, send me the songs, I'll learn them, let's get in a room, let's play them, and then let's go out on tour. I don't want to like labor over like playing the same set 500 times, because I'm like, no, can we just go play? Like, can we go and actually do the thing? So things like that I don't enjoy.
And I guess being in a band setting, you would be
doing that all the time.
Because
this is it.
Yeah, and you're with the same people.
Exactly. This was another thing. I realized that I love the variety of playing with different people, playing different styles of songs and all that sort of stuff. And I sort of was, there were a few other things, and I was batting around ideas in my head, and it just sort of like materialized that it would make sense to do some sort of remote recording studio. And at the time, people were doing it, but it certainly wasn't as commonplace as it is now. Like, not even
absolutely,
slightly.
because I, at the point of time when and this was mid 2016, I guess, when I was at the point of looking for other musicians that I could be playing with, or could be playing over my stuff. And like I say, that magical moment where in my inbox came the Steinberg email, was, and I thought, hey, she's good,
Yeah.
but, I'll have to get in touch, and I sent out my email. I think I'm pretty sure it was November. I've not got it to hand, obviously, but
but that makes sense.
But I think it was well over a year, I think, before I contacted you again, and I think it was just like I say, all the really the aftermath of artist development and all that did for me, and then I wanted to build up my repertoire, gigging and things like that. So that kind of had to come first before I actually got into the room and recorded stuff.
That makes perfect sense.
Which is why actually it took so long for me to get back to you. But I mean, but I would imagine everybody's story is different, is different, and yet there will be similar stories from others, I think.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing it's one of the things that I love the most about it, is the fact that exactly what you're saying, you got in touch in November 2016.
So people can make inquiries and then not get back to you for
this is it,
months, years.
Exactly. But over that time, we still probably were speaking, or even from that point till now, we've always touched base occasionally, and just like, how you've been up to. And for me, the thing that I love playing on people's music, obviously I love it so much, but I love equally just developing relationships with people and friendships, and just learning about them and their lives and all that sort of stuff. And this studio has afforded me that, and it's just the most. I have people that have been in touch with me probably since around the same sort of time, maybe the beginning of 2017, who have still not yet booked in with me, but we always touch base like at least once a year or every 6 months, because it's not about that anymore. It's about this friendship that we've made, and it's great. We have lovely conversations, and at some point maybe they're going to book in, but you know what? That's not the point for me. It's about the connection, and it's about just learning about people's lives, and like you say, people's journeys. I've been with people as they're going through divorces, or they're just like you, moving to another country. I mean, like completely changing their jobs, or having children, having a family. It's a beautiful thing. And it just, drums and music is kind of just an excuse to kind of keep in touch with people, if that makes sense.
It's kind of organic, isn't it, really? So I mean, I'm just discovering that a little bit with my channel now, Life for Universal Music. But I as I've been in on a couple of your videos, at least on the chat side of it, that I notice you've got a regular little community there, haven't you?
I have,
that are chipping in. I think I was probably the first one to type in Brummy, but
I think you might have been. But you're right. It's And it's funny, similar to you,
again, it's those relationships that you're building up.
Yeah. And you don't, well, I didn't realize that at the start,
Yeah.
at the very start of the studio. And I think this was more a reflection on myself, was that I thought that it would be like a conveyor belt system, that people didn't care about who was playing on their drums. They just wanted drums. So I just thought it would be, I'd get an email, here, I want drums. I would play the drums, I would send them. And I thought that's how it would work. But actually, it's so far from the truth. It's so the absolute opposite end of the scale. It's the reason that people get in touch with me is because of my personality. I think, you know, I'm not the greatest player on the planet, not by a long shot, and there are thousands of drummers who are better than me, or however you want to say it, but I do know that I'm definitely the only person that is like me in the way that I interact with people. I'm a bit goofy and nerdy. I'm a bit of an idiot, basically, but I love talking to people, and I think people enjoy the fact that I really care about their songs, what they're singing about. I'm very I try to be very mindful about the fact that at the end of the day, when you're writing a song, you're basically going, hello world, here's my soul. And that is an incredibly vulnerable position to put yourself in. And I have great respect for that. And I try to support that and kind of, I don't know, take it with care and real love, because I genuinely care. I think it's the bravest thing to put art out into the world for people to hear, and you know, I don't know, I just have massive respect for that, and that's always my baseline whenever I'm working with anyone. And again, this can be recording, this can also be in coaching. It's just like, if you're being brave enough to be vulnerable with me in the world, I'm always gonna give you all of me too. I will always be as vulnerable as I physically can be. And again, it's a funny thing, because it's not even to do with the physicality of playing, it's about the emotion and the heart and the humanness.
Because you have to put emotion into your playing. I think it's impossible not to, I think. Which I think you do very well. You know,
thank you.
That's
I can but try.
No, I think you do. You put yourself down a little bit, Emily, I think.
I know it's a really bad habit of mine, and
and I know what that's like, because you know, I'm very much the same, really. I do you know, it's very difficult to kind of big yourself up.
It is.
But I think you know, your playing's excellent. It really is. And just I mean, I think perhaps this is a good next question, actually, because it is. I certainly felt we connected really well with the music. You know, I send you my track, I give you a little bit of the background of it, I guess. Because you know, I like to explain what the song's about, because it gives you some idea of the emotion behind it. But it's almost instinctively, you can almost do this in one take. How do you do that?
Oh wow, that's a great question.
Or perhaps the other question is, does it happen does it happen with most of your clients? I guess there are some where you just don't connect, or
there's a scale. There's definitely a scale. And I will say, whenever I've received a message from you saying I've got this song, I'm like, brilliant, because you're right, we do connect. And so for me, it's I've played drums for so long now. It's been 25 years. And I, more than anything, because I think I've always had these instincts to a degree of playing drums with songs, because I've always loved music. Lyrics have been very important to me, just songs. I've always loved songs before I started playing drums. So for me, I have learnt to trust my instincts as a song drummer. So what I will do is I will listen to a song, I'll chart it down, say one of your songs. So I'll listen to one of your songs, I'll chart it down. And sometimes, you know, I'll have things that will just come to me, and it's all informed by you, always. And sometimes it's a feeling, and sometimes it's a phrasing, and sometimes it's just noticing the lyrics and what I feel like should be brought out, or a bit of space to let it breathe. Or it's very hard to describe it in a tangible way. But with your music, honestly, I just sit down and I just let it flow. And sometimes I do get it on the first take, sometimes it's a couple just to settle in and just kind of really get around the phrasing, but I know when it's right, because it's really hard to describe. I see it as an image, and it's kind of like I'm supporting your song, but I'm kind of supporting all the sort of, not holes, but the bits that, say your song is like this, like a waveform or whatever, I'm supporting all the up bits, and then I'm dropping out for all the down bits, and I'm kind of like, it's like a dance to me, and everything that I do is kind of sympathetic to, or empathetic to, whatever you've written and you're singing and you're playing. And that's how I see every song. Now, as you say, I wish all clients were like you, can I say, because it's a very natural thing for me. We ebb and we flow, and it just, you make it very easy. So thank you for that. But sometimes, I do get musicians that I work with where it's against my instincts, and that might be because of a genre thing, it might be because they've given me very specific notes. I want this to be played like this, which is absolutely fine, and it just becomes a different thing, where I'm kind of interpreting someone else's idea of what it should be. A really good example is often when I get synth players who want drums, and then they might program some drums and they forget that drummers only have 4 limbs, so that's always fun. And it's like, okay, this is really not natural, because physically impossible. But then for me, it becomes something different. Then it's like, okay, cool, this is like a challenge, and it's not about this kind of, maybe organic isn't the right word, because there always is a sense of this organic thing, but it's not as organic. It's kind of like that mixed with, this is a challenge. Let's, this is going to be about the textures. Let's say that they've programmed a part that really you need 8 limbs for. Okay, cool. I'm going to record 2 drum tracks then. I'll give you what you want. It's just going to be a different kind of vibe. And it's not my natural way to go, but I love a challenge, I've got to say. So it kind of, it's just a different headspace. And no matter what it is, I know when I've got it, because again, it's still that synergy, and it's still that empathy to the music, and just kind of like supporting the song in whichever way, either I deem, you deem, an artist deems, whatever. It's just like, cool, I know it feels, I'll tell you what it feels like. It feels very round and very warm, and like, maybe not complete, because obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes on past me recording the drums, but it's like a big hug. It's like I've been able to give a big hug to the song, and it's like, okay, and now I pass it back to you, and that's how I sort of work. So sorry, that sounds very existential and kind of
no, because I guess there's no hard and fast way of actually saying, right, I do everything this way, because because the genre has changed, the music changes every time you get one.
I think that's when people get into problems as well, is that if they only work in one way, then it becomes very restrictive. When I'm offering a service to people, I'm not the artist, and I'm not trying to be the artist. If I was, fair enough. If I have my way of working, that's fine, that's one thing, but I'm here to facilitate. And therefore, I need to be flexible, because that's what music is as well. It's fluid, it's interpretive, it's always changing, and there's beauty in that, and I love embracing that. It's hard sometimes, don't get me wrong. Sometimes there's challenges, like I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? And then you just got to work it out, but it's interesting. It's always interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Who are your influences?
Oh, so many influences. So
I've got a while.
I'll talk about in terms of drummers.
Okay, start with drummers.
What in life? Do you want just life?
No, start with drummers. No.
Okay, drummers. I'll give you a few drummers.
I have external influences outside of music as well, but
so drummers wise, it's people like Lee Van Helm from The Band, who's one of my all-time favorite bands, and Earl Palmer, who's a drummer from way back. He's done so much stuff. One of my favorite tracks he did was with David Axelrod. There's a song called Holy Thursday, which I just think is one of the world's greatest songs. And then who else? Al Jackson Jr., who used to play with Al Green. Who else? I mean, Steve Jordan, Steve Gadd, basically. Who else? James Gadson played with Bill Withers. Basically any drummer with a great groove that really plays for the song. It hits my my heart in a way that I just can't. It almost wins me and breaks my heart when I hear drummers like that, because there's a connection there that, you know, it's great when you see these drummers that play all the notes and it's that's fine and it's impressive, but to me it's very surface level. It's like, cool, that's nice, but those kinds of drummers, they hit me in my soul. They really do. And they can be playing something as simple as just like get and I'm just like, that's the best thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, I could die right now and that would be it, you know. So there's that. And then in terms of musicians, again, just great songwriters. I love people like Neil Young. I think he's possibly one of my favorite songwriters of all time. He makes me cry so often. I mean that in the best way possible. I also really like John Paul White, one half of the Civil Wars. He's an excellent songwriter. There's a guy called Moses Sumney who I'm really enjoying at the moment. Leanne La Havas. I grew up on bands like Nirvana, Radiohead, Massive Attack, all that kind of stuff. My dad got me into Jimi Hendrix and B.B. King and all the blues kinds of stuff when I was a kid, so that's very much in my heart. That's where my heart lies, is in blues. It's yeah, that's always my homecoming. It's like John Mayall, he used to play me a lot as a kid as well, and yeah, all that sort of stuff. But I've always been around a lot of music growing up, so I do have quite a fair few influences, which is quite good.
Yeah,
so,
beyond your years, I think.
Oh yeah, I was 100% born in the wrong decade. I wish I had been born a couple of decades earlier, because the 70s in particular, that period of music, I just find so moving. And I don't even know why, because a lot of the subject matter, it's not necessarily something that I would relate to, but
not entirely relatable, I don't think now. But I mean,
no,
but it
connects, and I that in itself I find fascinating. And as I say, I mean, I've always been into just songs. And I remember distinctly when I was a kid, me and my sister would just sit with album covers, just reading all the lyrics along to the songs, like cover to cover. And we were just obsessed with it. It was just like, we just loved, I mean, we didn't know what we were reading. I remember we would have been, I don't know, maybe 7, or I would have been 7, she would have been 5, reading Oasis lyrics, and one of them was something like, oh, she's got a bun in the oven. And obviously when you're that young, I was like, that's nice, they're baking. Anyway, carry on reading the lyrics. You know, it's just like, it's so silly, but you make up these stories in your head, and it's just like, it's such an interesting thing. And I still do that to this day. So every time I'm playing a song, whether I'm recording in here or whether I'm on tour, every song, I have a story in my head that the song is about, and whether that's intentional from the artist or whether that's me just making it up. And then I relate it to my own life, and that's how I channel my own experience and emotions into a song. And I try to do that with everything that I do, and it just makes me very present, and it makes me be able to truly emote in everything that I do, so that I'm right there and I'm just in it, you know, I'm in it, and I'm nowhere else. Because when I was a kid, you know, it's very easy to play and just have your mind wander off somewhere, and I never really understood how you got in the song, like into the song. I always felt like I was playing on top of the song, if that makes sense. And then I just found my way in with lyrics, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense to me. So yeah, and ever since then it's just it's changed my life. I love it. I just love stories. I just love stories.
So lyrics are the way. Yeah.
For me, yeah, 100%, 100%. And I know, you know, different. This is why I struggle with playing jazz. If it hasn't got lyrics, I'm like, oh no, what do I do? So yeah.
So are there any genres you don't touch, or is jazz one of them?
Yeah, there are genres. So jazz depends. Obviously, there's a scale with jazz. So if it's kind of fairly easy listening, just, you know, fairly basic, fine. But if it's the more intensive fusion or bebop, or, you know, that kind of end of stuff, fast, basically, I'm like, I'm probably not your girl. Same with heavy metal. So basically, I'll do heavy metal up until you want a double kick pedal, and then I'm like, I'm not your person, and I'll always, you know, recommend someone else. maybe try this person. What else? Maybe like Cuban stuff. I'm very aware that everything I do I want to do it like legitimately. I want it to, I'm not just going to blag it, which I know some people are happy doing, and that's fine. I'm not happy doing that. If I don't think I can do a brilliant job on something, I'll be like, you need someone else. Here's someone that probably would be better suited. And yeah, that's always kind of put me in good stead. The other thing is it means that I get to play a lot of stuff that I love, like all the time. Because I often say this to people, imagine if you do one song, like say I get given a metal tune, right? And it's all double kick. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to power on through and I'm going to do this. And I spend weeks building up my double kick technique again, recording this song. What if this song is a massive hit? And what if I become known for this song? And then all I ever get asked to do is double kick metal songs. And it's like, that sounds like hell to me. Like, no, thank you. Like, let's just go with no this time. But, but if there's anything else, let me know in the future. And that, it seems to be going all right, that theory in my head, that ethos. So but there are things that I will definitely, I'll just say I don't think I'm the right person for this, because it's the song is king or queen to me, and that will inform everything that I do, whether I say yes to it, what I play, just how I record it, if I'm adding percussion, or like I say, double tracking drums, or who knows, whatever the song is, that will inform what I need to do from my side of things. So yeah, song is everything.
How do people normally, sort of approach you the first time now? I mean, I know I did this through, because I found your website via Steinberg, but I mean, obviously that's now changed, or it evolves, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, it does. So I mean, go on.
Because I think originally I was I was actually sending you my tracks via the website. Is that right? I think
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Form originally.
Yeah.
But you've obviously things have changed for you, at least as far as that's gone. Was that due to the demand? Was that just down to the amount of throughput of songs you were getting through, or pieces of music you were getting through?
Yeah, so it's a number of things. Obviously, like you say, that was 2016 that you got in touch, and it's just been a constant kind of evolution, and it will continue to be, which is great. But the point that I'm at now, it's basically, I mean, people get in touch in all manner of ways. Like it's great. I love it. I think it's so cool. But and now it's the main place that I actually get people getting in touch from is through Drum Stem Club, which is this thing that I do where I release free drum multi-tracks for people, and they're basically drums that are recorded in the style of a song, like in different styles, different genres, different at different tempos, but it's kind of in a song format, so people can literally just like export stems, and they can chop up bits, they can edit them, they can use them on recordings, releases, practice with them, whatever. And these can be musicians, producers, anyone. And I decided to do that back in I want to say 2017, and I just thought it would be a great way to kind of showcase what I was up to. And then I realized, and that was kind of an early incarnation of it, it's now developed into this thing that I can offer musicians that are maybe don't have the means to be able to work with me one-on-one, but I've always had this thing of, I don't like gatekeeping myself or my services, so I want to be able to offer something to everyone, because I didn't grow up with a lot of money at all, in fact hardly anything, and I remember not being able to afford the resources that I was so desperate to have, but it just wasn't an option. It just wasn't. And I thought, I need to be able to put something out there to give back to the musical community, to give back to the kinds of people that I was when I was coming up, so that's why I started up Drum Stem Club. And now there's like, I don't know, 120, 130 different packs up there in different various styles and stuff that anyone can download. And then what will happen is someone might download one, write a song, release it, message me, and I'll be like, brilliant, that's amazing. And then they'll be like, oh, actually I've got this other song, like, would you be up for drumming on that? And I'm like, yeah, great, that would be amazing. And the great thing about that is that people already know how I work. They know what to expect. They know the sounds that I'm getting. They already like what I'm doing. And that's without me actually playing to their song and letting my world inform their music. So I know because as you've already hit on a little bit, I can get quite insecure and I do put myself down a bit, but I feel like from that perspective, it's like, I already know that you like what I do. And I know that what I'm about to give you is even more of that, which is great. So it makes me feel confident, like, oh, cool. Okay, great. We're on I don't feel like I have to prove myself all the time, which is definitely a bit of a theme in my life. I sort of feel like I spend my life as this warrior going, right, I'm going to prove myself today. And da, 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 da. So,
I mean, this must be quite a good thing for your workflow, actually, mustn't it, STEM Club? Because I mean, I did see this from early days, and I think I'm one of the early joiners there as well, actually.
You are, yeah.
I see, you know, from a lot of your social media that crops up, you know, you film when you're doing STEM Club stuff.
Yep.
So that's one thing, you know. I know you were saying in one of your episodes recently, The Drummer's Guide to, that you were, you know, you sort of batch record things,
yes,
you know, in your setup, where so you know, you'll have a day where you actually batch record, you know, this. So presumably this is how you do STEM Club. You will batch record some stems for your STEM Club. You film in it at the same time.
Yeah.
So that fulfills your social media side of it.
Exactly.
But it's also, like you say, it's you know, it's a self-promotion as well,
Yes.
because people can actually hear the quality of your production.
Exactly. Yeah. It
Terrific.
ticks so many boxes for me. And what I've realized about myself is that if I do anything in life, if I can tick multiple boxes through doing one thing, I'm much more likely A, to do it, but B, to keep it up. So another byproduct of filming it, obviously, like you say, you put it out on social media, which is great, a little bit of extra exposure, but in those Drum STEM Club packs, you also get that same video, which means that other people can also use that video for their social media, which they do, which again, and then they're spreading the word as well. And this was it was a very kind of conscious decision of just like, how can I maximize this for myself as well as for other people, and kind of just trying to think about the logicality of kind of word of mouth and doing all of that. And it's great. It's brought some brilliant clients to my door. And like you say, it's, you know, it is a bit crazy sometimes when you know, the calendar is all booked up and I'm like, oh my god, all right, yeah, I need to change something because it's too many people sometimes. And just finding that balance so that I'm not overworking myself, because that's the other thing. I need to give myself space so I can spend time with people's music. And again, it always comes back to just honoring the story, the song, the person, the artist. And if I find myself getting too many people booking in, I will just be like, no, this isn't why I do this. I don't do this because I want to be recording 30 tracks a week. No, absolutely not. I want to really carefully spend time with stuff. And so that's kind of how I inform all the systems that I have in place to make sure that I don't overload myself. And it's funny you say about the batching thing. I've actually started trying to not batch now, because I found that I was just rushing through stuff like with Drum STEM Club, and I was like, why am I doing that? That's not the point. And maybe I should just be spending time with this and allowing it. So now I only do one a week, where I sit down for 2 hours and I just really try and craft it like nicely and just like spend time, rather than, because as I say, I've got this horrible habit of, I'm a workaholic essentially, and I'm always just trying to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And again, it comes back to this kind of reflecting on, what kind of life do I want? I don't want to be in this constant rush. I want to be able to spend time and really, you know, just sit with things and just slow down a bit. And it's okay. Like, I don't need to be rushing through everything and going, what's next? I'd rather be present and just in the moment and truly take it in. And I've been doing it for a little while now, and it's definitely a nicer way to live, I've got to say. So I need to update that episode about batching, that's for sure, because I'm going completely the other way at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
So and what's changed about your setup? I see you've got an amazing amount of drums there. So I mean, you have a whole drum store here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Tell me about your setup.
Oh, well, where do you start? So I'm trying to think since we worked together. I suppose it's a whole new drum kit since we worked together. So this is an old
Maybe.
Ludwig, 1967 Ludwig, which
Lovely.
I've always wanted since a very long time. And one came up and I was like, oh, I've got to go for it. And the second that I played it, I was like, it's just the most beautiful thing ever. So that's kind of my mainstay. It does sometimes change up depending on people's music.
Yep.
You will be getting the Ludwig though for your songs,
okay.
because that is what it should be. And then in terms of mics, I mean, it's an ever-changing roster, but the sort of the staples are things like my Coles for overheads, the 4038s, and then like Sennheiser 421s, which I don't think you've actually had on your songs yet.
Possibly not, but I think I had the Coles, didn't I? Yeah.
You definitely had the Coles. That was one of the first purchases I made. I was like, if I'm doing this, I'm going to do this. And I always wanted some Coles. And then I've got, what else have I got? I mean, they're sort of AKG 414s for room mics. There's some Aston microphones going on. There's some standard kind of like SM51s or whatever. What was yours?
57.
Anyway, yeah.
57.
57. That's it.
57s.
It's not right, but I can't work out why.
Yeah.
And 58.
You can't go wrong with them. Yeah.
It's true. This is it. Because the other thing about doing the remote thing is that you want to give people mics that they understand. And, if you're sending over industry standard stems going, right, this is an SM57, they know what to do with that information. They know what to expect. And
they know what coloration you've got. Yeah,
exactly. Whereas if you're sort of going, right, I've got this Earthworks, microphone, and people are going, and that's like 30 grand microphone, that to me doesn't make sense with what I'm doing. And it's not about going, look at all the showy stuff. It's like, no, like, let's give you a great product that you know what to do with. I will say I sometimes send over too many multi-tracks because I get excited and then I'm like, I'd rather that you had lots of options than like too few, but it can get a little overwhelming. So I always say to people, just delete all the stuff you don't want. Like I'm not offended by that at all.
I do remember getting about 47 from you once, I think.
Oh really? Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, not at all, but it was it was quite I suppose quite a pivotal track for me. Obviously people have yet to hear it because it's not released yet, but I mean,
which one was that? Do you mind saying the title?
It was called Whispers of Home.
I was just looking over the songs that we worked on, and that was one of the ones that I had a bounce off, and honestly I was like, I love this song. Like, when's that coming out? Do you know yet?
Well, I'm holding back on that one, I think.
I'm not surprised.
Because I think at the moment, I mean, from an artist perspective, you start thinking about, well, how do I grow my audience? I don't want to really bombard them with everything first, or maybe not my best track first, I think. Although it's quite hard because they're all my babies, really.
I was going to say, and only the good ones come first. It's like, I love that tune. Yeah, no.
It's very hard to pick, one that you're prepared to lose. But then again, you're not going to. I guess. If anything, it's not going to get lost. It's just it's there forever, isn't it? When you put it out there, certainly online, anyway. But it's certainly some of the ones that I think may need a little bit more time to be present. So I'm waiting on Whispers of Home, and I think it probably will be. It'll probably be next year sometime, I think, before I actually bring it out, because at the moment the plan is to try and do something every month or two, try and get one out, and originally this was an album, because I remember saying about 3 years ago that that was the album finished, but then I had to learn to mix it properly, so that was the main reason. Plus we had a pandemic, plus we moved to France, plus
plus
loads of other reasons, really. But so that's why I waited until now. I always wanted to send out Good Ones Go First.
I love that song so much, Craig.
It's just like title
to
release first, so but I thought there's no way I could release that in the middle of a pandemic, you know.
No, yeah, that would be slightly insensitive, I think.
That's just yeah, just a little bit insensitive, and that's because
Oh,
because there is a little bit of a, you know, um, you know, I didn't want it to. It's not too serious a song, although you know the thought behind it is quite, you know,
yeah,
or at least the origin of it is serious.
yeah.
But I didn't want to. Yeah, certainly the pandemic was a wrong time.
No, yeah, I totally understand
So hence
that.
why I've waited quite a long time, really. That and I
Yeah,
wanted to get the studio here ready, mix stuff properly here. Now I've actually got the environment that I love, and
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's just had to wait. I've had to be patient.
It's just one of those things, I think, and
Yeah, I think so.
it does emerge the time when you're like, no, this
Yeah.
is the time. Like, and funnily enough, so good ones go first. So
Mhm.
obviously I record a lot of songs, but I have
Yeah.
to admit to you, occasionally I still wake up with that in my head, like
Yeah,
before you released it,
catchy. You
because
see, it was
it
catchy.
is so catchy. I just can't even. So I was so glad when you told me that it was going to be released. I was like, yes, finally I can share this with people because it's so catchy and people are going
Oh,
to
good.
love it.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, like and
Yeah.
share. Yes, it's like
Yeah.
promotion head on now. Yeah, but yeah,
Like a chair. Yeah.
like and share.
It's so good. It's so good.
But yeah, it's I'm glad. I'm glad that it's out. It's had a pretty good response so far. Obviously, it's still growing the audience, but you know
Of
so
course. Yeah.
I've got to put time into that. And so yeah, I think but I think there's most of them have got you on it, so I mean they should be coming soon. I think there's one you didn't get to play on, which is coming soon, which is called Watching the Rain, which I almost sent you, but it would only have needed a shaker, I think.
Oh, fair enough.
I
Yeah.
think you wouldn't have felt too challenged by that, I don't think. You know,
Well, I look forward to hearing it anyway because, as I
but
say,
but it
your
is
songwriting connects with me anyway.
right,
Like,
right.
regardless of the fact that I get to work with you on this stuff,
Mm,
like I just love your lyrics and your songs, and it always.
thank you. Yeah,
And like I say, always just seeing as I see you on social media and the stuff that you're up to, and obviously when we chat as well,
yeah,
but
yeah.
just seeing your journey from when we first spoke to now, and all the things that have changed. And you know, like you say, you were in a place when we first spoke that you were sort of a bit beaten down by everything and music and all of that, and just to come
Yeah.
through that, and not only that, be releasing songs, and just it's just a beautiful journey to see. And I know it's been, well, I'm sure it's been harder than any of us will know, but you know, you're still persevering, and I love it. It's very inspiring to me. I just really
Thank
enjoy
you.
watching
Yeah.
people's journeys. It's great.
Well,
So great.
it's nice also that you know to include someone else in on the credits as well. To be honest, so
Well, I feel privileged. What can I say?
you're definitely on most of them. So yeah, your name is there, and
Oh.
and yeah, I can't thank you enough actually, because it's you know, you really do. You feel it and you understand it, and that's you know, that's and it shows in the music, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for saying that. And like you say, there's a natural connection there with the
Yeah.
music, and you're right. I think it shows. And like I say, I just feel really honored to get to have been a part of your music, because
Oh,
regardless of being involved, I think it's really great. And
thank you.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, we've not really talked about your coaching, and of course that's another side of your business.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was again
And again, what brought this about? I mean, why did you decide to go into the coaching side of things? I totally understand it, but
yes. So basically it was off of the back of a drummer's guide too, basically. And the reason that I started that was because I just kept having this, I kept remembering back to when I was about 14 years old and being this awkward teenager who desperately wanted to be a professional drummer, but didn't quite understand how I needed to do it. I knew I needed to be able to play drums, but I was becoming aware that there was all this other stuff that you needed to know that I didn't know. And I remember being at a drum clinic, and this drummer was on stage, and he was the drummer for Jeff Beck. And I was just like, oh my God, he's doing what I want to do. He's out on tour. He's with Jeff Beck. He's so cool. And at the end of this clinic masterclass thing, he sort of asked the audience, does anyone have any questions? And I, inside me, had 100 questions I wanted to ask him, but I was so shy that I didn't dare put my hand up. And I never forgot that feeling of like, and being really annoyed with myself afterwards that I didn't. So anyway, I think it was 2018, I think I was reading a book called Crushing It or something like that. And it occurred to me that I should be putting out the information that I needed when I was that age. And, you know, now in this day and age, being able to spread it so far and wide, I just thought, because no one's talking about all the other stuff. Everyone's too busy being on social media going, look how amazingly fast I can play. And rather than going, okay, yeah, that's great, but there's all this other stuff that you need to be good at, know how to do. You know, there are so many other skills involved with being a professional musician that have nothing to do with playing your instrument. And I just thought, well, totally. Let me talk about that. Let me talk about my experience as being a professional musician coming up, and all the things that I think I get hired for, irrelevant of my playing, because you get to a certain point in this industry where everyone can play. It's not about that anymore. It becomes about all these other things. And I just thought, yeah, let me talk about that. So anyway, that started in 2018. And I'm still doing it now. It's sort of, I started back up in July. I took a break during COVID because, again, similar to you, I was like, this seems really insensitive and irrelevant at this moment. Like, I shouldn't be talking about touring. Like, at this stage, we don't even know if we're going to be back on the road seeing live music ever again. So it just I couldn't do it. I was like, I just don't know what to talk about. And if I don't know what to talk about, I'm not going to do it for the sake of it, because it has to be valuable. That was always my rule with myself. So anyway, off the back of doing that, people just always would ask me, like, could you do some one-on-one coaching with me, and because I was so busy at the time, I was like, I just cut, like, between the studio and touring and doing the podcast, doing Drum STEM Club and all the other things that I do, I was just like, I can't. Again, it's this sense of responsibility for the information that I give to people. And when I work with someone one-on-one, I want to give you everything of me. I want you to have my full attention. I want to do everything I can to help you get you to where you need to be. But I knew that if I was then going to do a session with someone and go, oh, and by the way, I'm going on tour for 6 weeks, that's not fair to them, because, you know, I have a responsibility to help support whoever I'm working with. So anyway, basically what happened at the end of The Voice Kids, I was like, cool, I'm going to be in the studio for the rest of the year. Now is the time to open up those doors and offer it. And the uptake has been so overwhelming. It's been beautiful. Craig, when I tell you, some of the people that I work with are so wonderful, and to see them just have that same hunger that I had and still have, and just, you know, they're going out there and they're doing the things, and, you know, and we talk about things and we brainstorm, like, maybe you could do this, maybe do that. It's just this lovely thing to be able to give back to people, and it's something that the music industry gave to me. And for me, it looked like reaching out to other drummers that I looked up to, going, I don't have any work, I don't know what I should be doing, like, I feel really lost. And they would send me these long emails back going, Emily, it's okay, like, this is just part of it, just keep hanging on, you know, you're doing all the right things, you just got to keep going. And those kinds of moments, I just thought, I want to be able to give that to other people too. So that's kind of how it came about. And it's a fairly new endeavor, I suppose. It's only been a few months, but I am absolutely loving it. It turns out I adore it, and it's certainly something that's going to be staying within my work repertoire, as it were, for the future, because it's so fulfilling. I can't even tell you. It's brilliant.
Oh, that's brilliant. And you're getting, you know, sort of feedback from your clients like that, you know, which again is
it's everything.
Helping fuel that, I guess.
Yeah, it's do you know what it is? It's watching their progress, and when things work and they come back to you and they're so excited to say, oh my God, and then this happened, this person like called me and they've asked me to go on this tour, and I'm like, that's amazing. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about the tour. Let's make a plan for that, and let's make a plan for you learning the set, and let's talk about it. It's yeah, it's great. Just seeing people's progress and knowing that I can help facilitate that in some way is just, I love it. It's potentially like one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done in my life. It's so wonderful to see. I love it.
Oh, fantastic. That's
Yeah,
great.
very lucky.
Yeah. I'll just try and wrap it up by saying, thank you ever so much
Yeah.
for your time. It's a thrill to meet you.
I feel the same way.
Because we've been emailing for years, literally. So emailing and sending the odd video message or whatever. But no, it's good to finally have a chat.
Yeah,
we must do it again sometime.
we shall definitely. And thank you again, Craig, for sorting this out and persevering with me, because I know that my schedule had been a bit crazy and you just kept
that's fine.
so thank you so much.
No, this slotted in nice. Do you know, I'm so grateful to the weather actually as well, and that's because I've heard a few, rumbles of thunder in the background.
Oh, really?
It literally was 12 a.m. today. Claire and I were sat outside because we were sat on the terrace having a bite to eat, and literally this like tremendous wind just came through.
Yeah.
Blew us indoors virtually because because it was so fierce, and I thought, right, we better get inside, otherwise we're going to lose everything, food.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so we rushed inside literally, and then the power went off. So I thought, please get the power back on before I do my chat,
Oh, well, I'm glad as well, because this has been such a joy.
I'm pleased as well it's held off, because it is because we've still got thunderstorms for the rest of the day. Pretty much it's settled in for that. But I'm so grateful it held off for the last hour and a half.
Yeah, me too. And
gosh, it nearly is an hour and a half.
Yeah, amazing.
It's felt like 5 minutes, and I could ask you so much more. But
I know.
But I realised that we're all
we'll
busy.
do it again for sure.
We must do this again.
We shall. But again, thank you so much, Craig. It's been such a pleasure.
Hugely grateful. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting to you, and
and good luck with the next few months.
Thank you. We'll be in touch soon anyway with your new songs.
I was going to say I've got some new ones to to give to you at some point in time. I don't know when, but
it's all right. It will be when it will be, and I literally can't wait already.
But I will. I'll obviously book a slot with you when that's ready, and
perfect.
And we'll be chatting again about those, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So
I think it's gone all right, hasn't it?
Perfectly.
Anyway,
I've loved every second.
I would say thank you for being my first interviewee. You are my first.
For
Life, the Universe and Music. Thank you.
No, hugely grateful. Thank you, Emily. And,
nice one.
You take care.
And we will speak soon.
And we'll speak soon. Yeah. All right. See you later.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
My thanks once again to Emily Dolan Davies, and I hope to get a chance to do this again sometime. Don't forget, like, subscribe and share, and these all help the channel to grow. Thank you in advance, and until the next one, cheers, my dears.